John Duggan, good morning to you. Your challenge is to shoehorn as many of the cliches as you possibly can into the next 10 minutes.
Well, this is the mecca of jumps racing. This is the National Hunt Olympics, as you say, Ger. And the deafening roar will go up at 1:30 for the Supreme Novices Hurdle when the tapes go up. Don't lose your shirt, folks. You know, it's a long week. Oh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. That enough?
Yeah, we're done. Good, a great start. What's it like?
It's dry. That's the first thing. It's cold. It's dry. The ground is drying out. Good to soft ground. A lot of anticipation here. That we're getting back to some semblance of normality. We know what happened 2 years ago with COVID. It shouldn't happen this festival. Then last year is behind closed doors. And just for Rachel Blackmore herself, not to be able to lead in Honeysuckle with all the cheers of the fans, it must have been a very strange feeling for her. And you'd hope that today she can do it in the champion hurdle at 3:30. The horse has never been beaten. And just to see people back enjoying themselves, obviously this is a very sobering aspect to this with the war going on in Ukraine. The last race today is sponsored by the Ukraine Appeal, so there's invitations to the racecourse to donate to the Red Cross. Cheltenham will be doing that as well. So obviously we're thinking about other people who are not having as fortunate a time as ourselves this week. You know?
Yeah, okay, we'll talk a bit more about that later on. Can you just give us a little bit about what else apart from Honeysuckle, because we do a deep dive. Yeah. We love Honeysuckle on this show. What else should people be looking out for today?
Well, it's the return of Gordon Elliott, isn't it? Last year he was serving a band and East Foster had the horses in training here at Cheltenham, and Gordon Elliott's back and he's got a lot of chances in many of the races. I think he's going to have a very good week. I think Willie Mullins is going to have a very good week. It's very much going to be, lads, a continuation, I think, with the fact that it takes a while for any kind of cycles to change. And with 23 out of 28 winners last year, and with bumper horses and good novice hurdlers then become like proper chasers, proper hurdlers, it's hard for the British contingent here to just turn the tide in a year. And I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think there's going to be a lot of Irish-trained winners. And I think that there's a lot of potential stars, even in the first race. You know, you have Kilcrush, Dysart Dynamo. If I'm looking at a horse that's been backed more than anything else this morning, it's Dysart Dynamo for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend in the first in the Supreme Novices Hurdle at 2-1 now. Constitution Hill is very well regarded. Mighty Potter. It's going to be an excellent race to start. So a lot of it is about the stars of today, which is Honeysuckle, but also the stars of the future, which you're going to get out of that first race. And in the bumper tomorrow, Facile Vega, Redemption Day, American Mike. These could be the stars of the future that we're talking about as potential champion chasers or Gold Cup horses in the future, you know.
One of the things that you like to do is just to make sure that you're keeping an eye on where the big movers are on the day to see where the money's going. That's generally a sense that somebody somewhere has got good word. But the trouble is that around festivals like this, everybody has word. The Shoeshine Boy is giving you stock tips today.
Yeah, was it Police Squad or Police Academy, or I can't remember the Leslie Nielsen show. Look, you got to trust your own opinion. Like, for example, I read Ruby Walsh in the Examiner and Patrick Mullins in the Indo today, and they both tipped Kilcrush in the first race. There's a family connection with that horse. He was second in the bumper last year. He hasn't run that well so far this season, but I think he could be coming to cherry ripe situation with Kilcrush. But he's drifting in the betting. He's about 9-1 now. So there you go. So the other horse in the yard, Dysart Dynamo, the man to the stable jockey Paul Townend, is the one that's getting all the money. You just got to trust your own judgment and your own opinion, I think, in this. 28 races is a lot of races, and I think it's better to be more conservative. And, like, for example, the Arkle Chase, the second race today, wouldn't go near it. I think it's too difficult to work out. And then the Boodles Hurdle, anybody getting involved in that race, which is at 10-5, you know, just needs their head examined, because there's 22 runners, and there's a horse at the top of the betting, Gaelic Warrior, that hasn't even run outside of France. But he's just so well regarded in the Willie Mullins yard, they think it's a certainty. But like, if you're trying to get a Cheltenham week off to a good start by backing in those races, you're really taking risks. So therefore, I think it's just a case of just being sensible and maybe looking for something later in the week if you don't fancy it today.
I'm not really up to speed on any of the Antipost betting, but the one horse I'd heard about that a friend of mine had put a decent wage on in the Antipost was Gaelic Warrior. So all of a sudden, his chances don't seem so secure, John.
Well, I think if you get him at 8-1 or 10-1 each way, absolutely, it's a great bet. But at the moment, I'm looking at 5-2 in the betting, lads, and that's way too short for me. You want to be maybe, like, if they're paying 5 or 6 places for each way, you'd be looking at some of the Gordon Elliott horses. Gordon Elliott's got a good record in this race. Paul Nicholls has got a good record in this race. He's got Bell X1, if you like the band. They're about 25, 28-1. So look, it's all about value, and it's not about winners or losers. Of course, if you back a winner at Cheltenham, it does feel good. You can, puff out your chest and strut down the streets of Kerry or Kildare, lads. But, it's just try and get some profit and try and maybe back one or two and see if you can get ahead.
Yeah, be calm. Use your head.
Yeah.
Don't wade
Use
in.
your head. Don't wade in. Just. And also, for example, Henry de Bromhead's yard has not been in the best of form. He hasn't had any winners in March, right? I'm just going through it here. Some of the statistics about Henry de Bromhead's yard. Like 9 winners in October, 13 in November, 8 in December, 4 in January, 7 in February. Last year, he won the Champion Hurdle, Champion Chase and Gold Cup. But if Honeysuckle disappoints today, that doesn't really give you much confidence in a Plutar or Manila Indo later in the week, or Put the Kettle On, or even Journey with Me as well. So therefore, you have to be checking the hot yards. I was at Leopardstown last week speaking to Willie Mullins. He had 4 winners on the day. His yard is flying. Gary Moore's yard is doing well in the UK. Nicky Henderson's been a little bit cold. So Henry de Bromhead, it has to be said, has not had the best of seasons. So hopefully his horses are coming into form at the right time, but you just don't know. And if Honeysuckle does disappoint, because I think what will happen with Honeysuckle, if she's going to lose, she'll have to be below her best,
Okay. If you want to see what's drifting in the betting, go to Odds Checker, and the ones that are in blue are shortening, and the ones that are in pink are drifting.
That's right.
Okay.
Like Martello Sky is the only other horse that's been backed really in the Mares Hurdle at a price, but the big move this morning is Dysart Dynamo in the opener.
Okay.
But also there'll be about 11 o'clock it'll change again.
Why? What happens then? That's when
just you get a sense of who's worked well, and then you start getting the players involved. The players will start getting involved. The people will harden the markets that have the big money behind them. Will harden the market. I remember Aventon a couple of years ago being heavily backed in the morning, and then Julia Blige in the Champion Hurdle. But just because a horse drifts doesn't mean its chance is gone. It's all about what you see on the day, if you get me.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so what have you got for us today, John?
I'm napping John Bon in the first race. John Bon is a full brother to Duggan, and this is trained by Nicky Henderson and will be ridden by Aidan Coleman for JP McManus. At the moment, John Bon, on OTBSports.com, I've napped him to win only, but you can almost back him each way now because he's drifting out to about 5-1, 11-2. Look, it's all about the future stars, and John Bon could be a future star. He's got a high cruising speed. He doesn't mind a battle. He jumps well. He is a bit temperamental in that he just gets a bit excited, but I don't think Nicky Henderson's too worried about the preliminaries around the paddock. And I think John Bon, if there's going to be a star out of this race, I think it's John Bon. I think that he'll be, whether Kilcrut leads or Dysart Dynamo leads, I think he'll be tucked in behind them. And I think that to reach the frame, he's definitely got a big chance. And John Bon, of all the horses I've been studying over the last few days, was the one I just kind of felt was a horse that I think could be the star of the future. Tony McCoy said that. And I think he might be the one today for the nap. So John Bon is my nap bet at about 9-2, 5-1.
Yeah.
That is in the 130.
It was interesting that McCoy talked about how emotional it would be for JP if this horse won. I'm like, well, I mean, like they've had a lot of good horses over the years, and so they're good judges. But yeah, at the same time, there's other good horses in that race too. So okay, John Bon's your nap in the first.
Yeah, and it would be emotional if you spent $500,000 on something and it won. So the 10 past 2 is the Arkle Chase. My recommendation is no bet in that race. The 250, I'm gone for Noble Yates at a price of 14-1, 16-1 now. It's drifting a little bit. This horse has been bought for the Grand National by the Whaley Cones. Emmett Mullins trains it. He actually beat Gabignaco over a shorter distance earlier in the season. And then he was second to Ahoy Senior last time out. I think he stays. I think he's got the pace to settle up. If he jumps in a rhythm, I think Noble Yates has got an each-way chance. He's my each-way bet of the day, about 14-16s in the Ultimate Handicap Chase. In the half 3, the Champion Hurdle, I'm going for Appreciated against Honeysuckle. Right. I am just on the bet on the prices. Look, I want Honeysuckle to win. It's not a pocket talking. I do want Honeysuckle to win. I'm not going to be disappointed if my horse loses that I'm tipping up. But I think Appreciated is the one that could put it up to her. Like Quevega was sent out 5 times by Willie Mullins to win first time out at the festival. So I'm not worried the fact that Appreciated has not been seen since he won the Supreme Novices Hurdle last year by 24 lengths. We heard Sean Flanagan on the Saturday panel talking about the vibes were good. I think he's working well, Appreciated. And we know he was second in that bumper behind Fernie Hollow, and the form of that has very much worked out. The times are pretty much similar to the champion hurdle last year, and if Appreciated improves, and if Honeysuckle is not at her best, Appreciated at 4-1 might be the one to beat her. In the 10:4, which is the mare's hurdle, I've gone for the favourite there, Queen's Brook. Once again, strong bumper form, third in that bumper behind Ferdy Hollow and Appreciated. Queen's Brook and Gordon Elliott, I think, is sweet on her chances. The vibes are good once again. Kind of tuned up for this with a performance behind Burning Victory. Queen's Brook has won as a pointer. I think she'll get the trip, and I think that she'll be staying on up the hill better than a lot of these. So Queen's Brook is a win only bet in the Mare's Hurdle. As I said, don't go near that Boodles Hurdle, that juvenile hurdle, unless you're like Owen's friend on Gaelic Warrior at a good price. But I think Gordon Elliott's got a great record in the race, and he's definitely worth being on the right side of in that one. And in the last race, once again, no recommendation. Vanillier, by the way, has been back, lads, this morning now into 3-1 for Gavin Cromwell. Won at the festival last year. I think Run Wild Fred, the favourite, is a solid favourite. Was second in the Irish Grand National last year, won the Troy 10 chase at Navan. I don't fancy Staffler. I don't think Staffler will stay. So I do think it's between Run Wild Fred and Vanillier, but I'm not recommending a bet on that one. So the bets today, Queen's Brook and Appreciated to win. Noble Yates each way, and the Nap lads is John Bond.
Okay. The Guardian today are writing about the Irish takeover, the greening, and how the long-term impact on British racing might be relatively negative because, you know, how do the trainers convince an owner to spend a couple of $100,000 on a horse and many thousands more in training fees if you can't get a winner or even a run at Cheltenham? So, part of me is like, well, tough luck. That's just how life works. And part of me is like, well, you know, I understand a little bit about what the point you're making.
Well, I walked around here in 2017 when we had 19 winners. Obviously, nobody was here last year, and I felt I was a Punchestown lads. And that was a sort of strange feeling to have at a Cheltenham festival, where you come here 2 decades ago and you really felt like an underdog. And if Isterbrak won, we'd be all happy for the week. So I do think British racing is facing challenges. Prize money is one thing. And as you said there, like for Tivoli Park Stud or for construction companies to be sending horses to Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott is not a good look for the British owners and for the British trainers. So I think the British trainers can train. It's just that the owners need to have faith in them, that they'll keep their horses here. But if you see the success of Willie and Gordon, and that they can get these, they've got these contacts in the points field in Ireland and also in the French market. It's hard to kind of swing the tide, but institutionally, British racing needs to up its game, as it were. And we want to see a good, healthy rivalry here. It's become something that the Irish is so important to Cheltenham that they boosted this whole Ireland-England thing. And now it's got to the stage where it's almost like it's now got out of control in a way. And it's got to the stage where they want to be almost playing it down, because they don't want to be coming in with a little English flag 5 times a week. Because to be honest, 3-4 decades ago, most of the jockeys were Irish anyway. Most of the horses came from Ireland. They were just sold because our country was so poor. So you'd hope that it's a more level playing field. But the more you push a narrative and the more it's going one-sided, the harder it is to change it.
Yeah. All right, John, we'll leave it there. Happy punting.
All right, lads.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Cheers. More from John, of course, across the day on OTBsports.com and on the radio this evening with Joe. A reminder